Hello folks, I hope you're well, and this video is a little bit different. This video is all about the products that I've made for the Aldis CV range of vans using a 3D printer. So welcome to what I call Van and Country Designs. This is a whole arm of our videos where we got into making 3D designs. So let's just back up a little bit and see how it all started. When we got the van, we realised that when we sleep across the back of the van, so we make the bed up where the two kind of bench seats are at the back of the van, across the van, I think it's called transverse, my wife had a lovely shelf to put her cup of tea on in the morning. When I went to put my cup of tea on somewhere, there was nowhere to put the tea. They say necessity is the mother of all invention, and I think that was definitely the case with this. How this started was to make a shelf for the back door where I could have my tea in the morning. So let's get into that one. This is the shelf where my wife would pop her tea in the morning. Lovely, Van and Country Designs. And she would sleep here, you see, which was marvellous for her. She would be sat across here like this, sleeping, and be able to get her cup of tea. Lucky for her, right? Meanwhile, over here in the cheap seats, as you can see, there was a bit of a dilemma. Nowhere to put my cup of tea. For a few weeks, I longingly looked at this area here thinking, you know, can I put my tea there? No, can't do that. I tried a couple of things and nothing worked. Then one day I got some pens and paper out. I'd sketched out what I thought it might look like. So I made what I thought it might look like out of some wood, a little shelf that fits there. And to be honest, it didn't look great at all. It looked like somebody had found 2 or 3 bits of wood and nailed them together, if I'm honest. I'd seen 3D printing. I thought, I'm going to have a go at this. I bought myself a 3D printer, £270 I think it was. I downloaded some free software called Blender. I went about designing this shelf and I thought, well, how am I going to make a shelf that fits on there? I decided I would make something that slotted in here, rested on this raised bit here, and gave me a little shelf there. So the outcome of that was this little thing here. That was what I ended up making. I made about 3, maybe 4 prototypes maximum, and then I think it was the 4th one, I did this. And it fitted exactly. I was absolutely astonished, if I'm honest. And look, you could put your cup of tea there. So that was the first one. That was the first shelf that we done. Quite a few people have bought that. So if you have bought one of these, thank you very much. I mean, I think I've actually paid for the printer. I'm really grateful. I'm so grateful that people have bought this, and I've had some great feedback. You know, when you make something and people use it and they get the utility out of it and enjoy it. So I'm very grateful. So thank you to anybody that's bought this. It really has been very, very rewarding. That was the first one done, and we now have somewhere to put the cup of tea, which is amazing, or coffee as this is. The next thing I want to talk about is this mounting block here. This mounting block means that you can mount this shelf, so you can buy one of these shelves and then use it either side. So you can use this on the other door. So if I just turn the camera around now and show you, right, here you are, look, you can see the mounting block actually fixed into place. How that's fixed into place is with 2 tiny screws that are like this, and they are self-tapping screws, so they screw through the plastic and catch into the plastic and don't go into the metal, and it's really quite simple to do. So the way it's done, you position your shelf. Now this is whether you buy a second shelf or use the one from the other side. So imagine this isn't here, and then what you do, you position the shelf there where you want it, then you slide the mounting block over the front of it, and then basically just screw these in. It takes a couple of minutes to do. Now, what does that mean? It means you can then use this shelf on both sides, depending which way round you sleep. It then means that you can use it over here, which is fantastic. Now, the other thing that I did was to add a couple of little features to this, where you can use it as a pen holder as well. I thought that was quite good personally. I was very pleased with that. And it also works as a phone holder. So you can rest your phone there. You can rest it sideways. A Kindle will fit, and so will a iPad mini vertically as well. There you go. That was the second thing I wanted to talk about, which is the mounting block, which means that this shelf, buy one shelf, has the utility of going on either side, or of course if you buy 2 shelves, you then have a shelf on each side. fantastic. What more do you want? So that's the mounting block for the other door, and I've shown you how this shelf can actually fit on the other door as well. The other thing I wanted to talk about was working with somebody that had bought one of these by mistake. They had a Swift Carrera and it didn't fit. I then designed another shelf, and the reason I done that was to fit the Swift Carrera. So this one's slightly different, and how this works, this curved piece here, it just slots over the top like that, so there's no fixing or anything to do. But what this shelf does is for just general Ducato vans and the Auto Trail and the Swift Carrera range, these fit lovely on here. And I've had some great feedback from people that have bought those, so that just adds a shelf there. But what this does do is not so much when you're sleeping, it does give you a nice day shelf where you can have your cup of coffee there. So that was a kind of evolution of the first shelf. Now let's talk about something different. So in the front of the van now, we just talk a little bit about this area and how we might use it a little bit different to other people. But I do know quite a lot of people travel without the main table that sits here. So we use a few different ways. We sometimes have that table with us, and other times we use the fold-up table in the back and pop that here. But the reason we like that is because we like this area at the front as a lounge area during the evening. And if the table's here, we don't necessarily think it's as nice a space to relax in if we've got the bed made up at the back. The shelf, the next shelf. What I made was a similar shelf, a variant of the shelf that fits on the back, to fit on the sliding rail where the table goes. And here you go, you can see how that's got a space there similar to the track that the table sits on. Are you ready? There you go. I'll just show you here, look. It's just easy, it just fits on there and it's fine, and you can put a cup of tea or whatever on it there. Right, so that's that. It's very simple. This is the sliding rail shelf. Perfect. Once I'd made this, I thought, can I do anything else with it that might be useful to people? What else is missing? Let's go to the back of the van again. The sharp-eyed amongst you will notice that in the vans, in the CV40 anyway, in the CV80 I think it is, the TV is fixed over here. The bracket anyway, it comes with a bracket there, so you're really short on choices where the TV can go. You could mount another bracket over here, but you've got all your services, aerial and socket and everything over there as well. What you would do would be to sit on this side of the vehicle, enjoy your cup of tea and watch some TV. If you sleep and you like to watch TV when you're in bed, you would want to sleep this way round, so you'd have that same problem with nowhere to put your tea on the door, which we've already spoken about with the other shelf and the mounting block that goes on the back door. So let's say we're watching TV, so we've got the other shelf now on the back door, which is great, somewhere to put the cup of tea. Tina maybe would sit there and have her cup of tea. Where do I... Oh, there's nowhere to put my tea. Now, not only that, if you sleep this way round, there's nowhere to put your Kindle or anything like that. What I decided to do was to make another mounting block, a slightly different one, which are these ones here. And basically how that works is, again, with the two small screws, the same size screws that fit the back door one, you can fit that onto the wall here. It makes two small holes. Now, if you know anything about these vans, you know what Aldous does is to put kind of little circular stickies over holes. Now, if you can get some of those, and they are readily available, if you take these off, you can just put those stickies on, and you know, you're not going to see those. It blends in really quite well. There's a mounting block that goes with the shelf that fits on the sliding rail, and again, look, exactly the same thing. Shelf fits there. Now that means while I'm watching TV, I can put that there. And the reason I put it that high is because when I'm in bed, I won't knock it like that. And then when I sit here and have a cup of tea, it's a nice height to actually put things to. So basically then, this is the sliding rail shelf with the mounting block. Fantastic. So, well, there's one more thing. This last thing, at the moment, there's some other things being designed, but this last thing again is another use for this bracket that we put the shelf on at the back. It's the same fitting as the table that's at the front of the van. So this means you can fit two of these here. I'll just bend this down here, look, so you can see. Two of these here, and that means that the table from inside the van will slot on here on the outside of the van, giving you the outside use of the table, and it works great.